This episode's brought to you by Real News PR and Real News Communications Network, video podcasting and public relations at the speed of news. Welcome to Best of the West. I'm Sarah Curley. So excited to be in studio today with my co-host. It's Brian Dunn, no stranger to the show. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, glad to be here.
Hey, so who did you bring us today? I'm so excited for this very special guest.
Yeah, y'all in for a real treat today because last year I had the privilege of working with Fort Worth PD's CIT, which is the Crisis Intervention Team. And as a result, I became friends with some of these guys. One of them I have here today, Kyle Willcox. He's going to talk about the role that he has played in the community and being a mental health officer with this team, being able to kind of get ahead of the curve when you think about what's happening in the country right now with law enforcement and mental health. This is a big deal. We're seeing the need for good, professional, trained officers to be out in our communities. So this is a good time for us to be back in the blue, and I'm glad to have Kyle on with us today.
I couldn't agree more. Welcome, Officer Willcox. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We are so excited. Tell us your story.
Oh, gosh, where do I start? So I've been a police officer with the city of Fort Worth for just about 6 years now.
Thank you so much for your service and
thank you for the
protecting
support.
us.
No.
Thank you for keeping us safe. Really appreciate it.
Well, you're quite welcome. I've been assigned with the Crisis Intervention Team for the last 3 years, and since I've moved over, it's given me a new passion with this career. I mean, you know, catching bad guys is one thing, but when you're really breaking it down and figuring out why people do certain things and kind of helping get ahead of that so that we're not overcrowding the jails. I mean, it's deep, and it's a new respect, and I'm enjoying every day of it.
That's so exciting. So, Brian, share with me what the dynamics look like between your role and Officer Willcox.
Yeah, so the idea behind and the theory or philosophy behind the CIT unit is to have a mental health professional or clinician ride out with the officer. So in this case, they are offering their clinical support and really just offering a support to a team of people that would be out there doing it anyway, even if we weren't there. So it becomes an asset based on what clinical experience we have in being able to de-escalate, being able to do a quick assessment of someone's mental health needs in that moment, find a way to get them safe, stabilized, or to a place where they can be treated for care. So we ride together in that way and partner up in the method of how to best go about that every day.
Wow. So I can only imagine what kind of trust factor that must be between the two of you and the dynamics. Tell me your story together. You rode out together, and then what did you experience? What was that like?
Oh gosh, it's a great tool to have. So cops love tools. That's what we're all about, to better create a safe environment and solve a problem. And when we have a licensed clinician on board, it ups the game. Because at the end of the day, I'm considered a mental health peace officer for the state of Texas. When I have someone on board that can see a little bit more than I can see and kind of can work a little bit differently around that edge, then it's very valuable.
So guys, give me for instance. It doesn't have to be an exact situation if you can't share that, but just help me wrap my head around what this looks like. So you're in the squad car together and you get a call, or you get a call before you get in the squad car. I mean, how does that all work? Am I saying the right thing? The squad car.
Squad car, the unit, the car, whatever you want to.
I mean, your adrenaline's rushing. You get the call. Like,
the
how does
beautiful
this work?
White SUV that CIT rides. That's another
awesome.
way.
Yeah, we do drive around in a
Watermark.
different vehicle. It's not normal black and white. So my unit is jail restricted. We do not handle any criminal, so we don't go to jail. And we keep that by not taking anyone at all to jail, even if it's to transport someone if you have a warrant, whatever. We don't do any of that. The stigmatism behind a black and white means you go to jail. Well, if a whole white vehicle with ghost lettering comes up, it's like they're here to look into your mental health. We're not looking to.
Interesting.
We're going to take you to the hospital if need be, and we're going to talk with you. We're not here to take you to jail.
Yeah, why is that important?
We operate off a lot of rapport. So when it comes to dealing with some people, especially when they're dealing with mental health crises, it is very imperative that we get kind of good cooperation with it, and we de-escalate the best we can, and we talk to them and get them the help they need. Because a lot of people present that they have no problems at all, there's nothing wrong with them, but there are some serious underlying factors. some people will sit there and there's gangrene on their leg, and they lack any insight to know what's actually going on with them. And we're like, we need to get that treated. We got to get you some help. No, I'm fine. I'm good. It's like, no, we got to go get some help. Let's just go down. We'll see a doctor. Let's get some antibiotics. Let's get something right, and let's take care of you.
Yeah. So, even just being able to observe that they are neglecting their medical well-being and being a support in that way. I think that's the thing I really appreciate, is that I don't think the community really understands the level of care and I guess proactiveness of the nature of your team going out. What are some of the ways that CIT is operating that the community doesn't know, but they really should know?
So we operate in a kind of a little bit of a gray area when it comes down to it, because we're dealing with people's mental health. I mean, we're really looking at their health. With that being said, is we have to work on a lot of privacy. So the public doesn't know what all we do. But the thing is, we're going to show up when you need us to show up. We have 2 teams, a day shift and an evening shift. I'm assigned to the evening shift. We come in, we are an assist for patrol. So patrol says, hey, if there's any crisis intervention officers out, can they come in and talk to us? Because we're dealing with either a bridge jumper, all the way up to a bridge jumper, to an individual that is, lack of words to say, just, there's a fail to thrive. They have no intentions of living anymore.
Wow.
So
I just got chills. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it ranges when it comes down to it.
Right.
So when they say, well, what do you do? I was like, well, I deal with people that are manic, homicidal, suicidal. FBI considers suicide as homicide because you're just homicidal towards yourself.
Right.
So at the end, we're trying to prevent that. We're trying to give you a fighting chance. At the end of the day, I may show up and, hey, I'm going to take you to the hospital. We're going to make sure you're taken care of. We're going to go talk to someone at the hospital. If we can get you some help there, then we will, and we'll do what we can.
That's amazing. Share with me some success stories.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's a good question.
Oh, where do we start?
That's right.
There's everything from, so we're dual certified with the city. We're also considered crisis negotiators, or was what you would refer to as a hostage negotiator. Everyone on CIT is
hostage negotiator.
So
break that down a little bit.
So we get deployed out when when SWAT gets called out for a barricaded individual. They've barricaded themselves inside. They have hostages inside. We will come up and we'll formulate a plan with our team, and we will get a safe surrender. We don't have to go in and use any force on them. If we can get them compliance, get them on the phone, we just talk them down.
Wow.
So it's
wow.
And so we do that with SWAT, but then again, SWAT doesn't go out on every call. So sometimes when they're holding themselves hostage, for instance, we had one individual who, when we got there, he was sitting in his closet with a gun in his mouth.
Wow.
And I just played with him, and I was with another partner of mine on CIT, and I said, hey, let's just pull it out of your mouth, set it down, because you can't talk to me with a gun in your mouth. So he says, okay. So, he was a veteran, and we have a lot of respect for our veterans.
Yes.
So much. What they've done, I mean, the least I can do is give another day. Just one more day. We lose so many veterans out here. So if I can show up and I can give them one more day, then I feel like it's a success.
Yeah, I love that. That's important.
So we lose so many. So we take them, get them as much help as we can. And honestly, there's not enough help out there.
Right.
Some of these guys, they just, sorry. It's kind of, it's so much passion. It's kind of, it's hard to kind of express it. But no, we talked with him for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Got compliance out of him. I said, let's get you some help. Let's go talk to some people. And he said, are you going to be outside? He's like, if you just come outside and do everything as we ask, nothing will happen to you, and I'll be right there when we take you in. All right, good deal.
I can see you're getting choked up, and I appreciate that about you because you care so much. And thank you, thank you for saving his life.
Hey, we're human at the end of the day, but it's rewarding because we go follow up with these individuals afterwards. So a few weeks later, we'll go knock on the door. Sometimes we get in contact with them, sometimes we don't. Mm-hmm. I had one girl. she was in full-blown psychosis. Like there is psychosis brought on by.
And explain to me psychosis. What is psychosis, Brian?
Yeah, so a state of psychosis can be anything from having a delusional episode where someone believes the reality has changed. That can be induced by different kinds of psychiatric diagnoses like schizophrenia or bipolar untreated. There can be chemical-induced delusional states that people are experiencing when they're on or intoxicated by drugs or alcohol. So it's basically a state of dissociating from yourself into another reality, talking to oneself, believing there's people around you, people after you. So there's all kinds of levels of severity of that and things that contribute to it.
How do you get that person back to reality? I guess, is that the right question? Like, so then you call Brian or your team calls Brian, and then what do you do?
No, I think, well, in that
or
sense...
Or you're able to say, hey, he's not experiencing reality right now. So then you understand a little better. How does this work, the dynamic? Just break it down for me.
When it comes down to it, so we have clinicians on board. Sometimes we have them in the evening, sometimes we don't. It all depends what we got. So we partner with My Health, My Resources with Tarrant County. There are clinicians that are on board. It's the partnership that we have, which that's how I met Brian. When it's safe, we can bring them in to talk with them. And if it's not safe yet, then we don't bring them in.
Right, because their safety is very important too. Everyone's safety is important, but
that was some of the things that I experienced was coming into to work with the PD and gain a respect and understand how they operate, how they're trained to assess a scenario, a scene, make sure that it's safe, and then kind of wave me over to, hey, let's talk to this individual. So I learned a lot of that protocol of allowing them to do their job and giving them space, and then coming into a good partnership like you were talking about before, where I come in and bring the clinical piece to be able to talk to someone and make that quick assessment and judgment, and then really just partnering up together with my partner on what should we do going forward, how should we handle this situation that's the best thing for them. So I really love the fact that we were able to do that. And then I think the follow-up thing that you brought up was really good, because that to me is one of the best proactive things that the city of Fort Worth is doing to get out back to the front door of someone who had a crisis, say 30 days ago. It was a mental health crisis. It involved the PD. And now we're showing up, knocking on the door to find out, hey, are you taking your medication? Are you getting the treatment and the aftercare that you needed?
Wow.
I feel like many people respond with, wow, I can't believe you all are here to just check on me and that you care about that. I think that is a huge building rapport in the community that is necessary. And I think that's a part that the community doesn't know that Fort Worth PD is doing that. And there's other police officers and cities doing this. And I just think it's one of those very valuable assets to any community, especially as we're seeing a rise in mental health across the country. So,
yeah, with this one that I was talking about, she was in psychosis to the point where she wasn't speaking any English. She has, I guess, her father's from England and her mother's from Nigeria, and so she spoke different languages, and she was responding to internal stimuli, voices. She was hallucinating. We slow things down. We talk to them the best we can, and we get them the treatment that they need, so desperately need. I went to do a follow-up with her, and I didn't think she would recognize me, and she just sat there and just kind of started sobbing. And I'm like, are you okay? And she said, yes. He's like, can I give you a hug? And I go, yeah, sure, come on, bring it in. So give her a big old hug. I'm like, I didn't think you would recognize me. She said, no, I was crying and fighting on the inside, and I couldn't control anything on the outside.
Oh my God.
So, and her story was interesting because she was a college student.
Wow.
And she was powering through her midterms, and she was stressed out. She wasn't sleeping. She wasn't eating, and her mental health declined. And that's when we intervened. So,
what have you seen, I guess, the pandemic, has that changed anything in terms of just how stressed out our society is, or are we kind of coming back from that? What do you kind of see throughout your career, kind of where were we in the pandemic and where are we today, and maybe some proactive approaches if anybody sees something, or kind of feels something's off, what to look for?
that's good.
I worked patrol during the whole pandemic. I didn't skip a beat. It was, we had an exposure, we go to get tested, then, all right, well, you're good to go. I mean, just back to the next call, on to the next call. When it came down to it, I don't think it affected people as what a lot of people think it did. I think our youth is another story, because your day-to-day going to school every day is now changed. Now you're online. People need social aspects. They need sports. They need their friends. They need those support groups. And when they don't have them,
Yeah, that's right.
it will decline. So our children we're seeing are different. Our adults, we're good to go.
Yeah,
We adapt and overcome. Children are still developing, and those are the ones you got to watch out for, because we can't always be there. But when you see something, notice it, say something, interact with your children, say something to your parents. If you see something that's not quite there, just open that communication. I think that's the hardest part we have these days, is just open levels of communication.
That's right. And that's one of the things I'm seeing a movement where we're moving away from the stigma of mental health, and there's more people willing to talk about it, to address it, to ask questions, to say if there's something bothering them, or to ask someone, a friend or family, if something's bothering them, if they need help. That's a really important move that we're seeing making, and you're even seeing it nationally, where they're reaching out to mental health professionals for answers on a lot of different levels, which is a really great, wonderful thing to happen and see. So that's incredible when you think about your interaction with families like that, to be able to keep somebody safe and stabilize them, but then even partnering up and saying, hey, who's going to step into this role now for this little kiddo, and take them the rest of the way. So
Thank you so much for sharing. Brian and Officer Willcox, share with me a little bit about the dynamic between the two of you. Some of the stories, anything,
yeah. Well, walking into this place and walking into this unit, and I think it was like the first week, and I see where Willcox is sitting up in the department, and he's got this big picture of Mr. Incredible. So why don't you tell us about why there's a picture of Mr. Incredible by your desk?
So I have many nicknames. I have many.
Yes.
Some people are like, you look like a cartoon character. I'm like, how so? And I'm like, I can't put my finger on it, but you look like a cartoon character.
That's right.
I'm like, okay. And then it turned into, I was like, it looks like Mr. Incredible. You're Mr. Incredible. And I'm like, should I be flattered or insulted? I don't understand.
Right.
But my kids, they love it. They're like, oh no, you look like Mr. Incredible. I'm like, okay.
So they love it.
Oh, they get a kick out of it. So
I totally see a family Halloween costume
Yeah,
group photo in your next photos then, because that's awesome.
I have to convince my wife, but I bet she might be in for it. I don't know.
And
I have a son and a daughter, and I bet they
funny.
jump right in. There for a while, we even had one of those, because that was our favorite movie growing up, the Incredibles 1, Incredibles 2. Oh, when you have kids, and it's like,
Oh, yeah.
all right,
Right.
as soon as we're done with that, we're gonna turn it back on. Okay.
And I think there was times when I was about to ride off with Willcox, and like, oh, just so you know, get ready, because he talks a lot, and I'm like, well, thank God, because I'm known as one of the most talkative therapists in Fort Worth, probably. And I'm like, this is a perfect matchup, and that'd be like the whole night, our whole shift would just be. Boy, we're done already? How do we get through that day?
Oh, I love it. And you
Without any
remain
pause.
friends.
That's right.
It's the gift of the gab. It's a curse.
Gift
and
of
a
the
blessing.
gab. That's right.
Curse and blessing, right?
Do we have enough time for this podcast today? I don't know.
I
We're doing
know.
pretty good,
We could
buddy.
talk for a while.
That's right. Maybe Sarah's gonna have to cut us off.
We will have to have you back, Officer Willcox.
Yeah, anytime.
In closing, please look into your camera, and you as well, Brian, and just
Okay.
any messages that you want to get out to the public. Maybe it's something that's inspiring or something that's an awareness. Go ahead. Let's start with you.
Okay, so I think we'll always go back to, if you are in that place where you know that you're needing some kind of help, if you're not feeling right, if you experience anything kind of like a depression or anxiety, maybe you haven't dealt with that before, definitely reach out to a family or a friend, and just know that there's many programs out there like Connections Wellness Group and others that can connect you into the care that you need for therapy or group therapy, for medicine if you need it. And also, if you have someone in your life that you think something is going on, make sure that you ask them and be that support that they need, so that we can keep moving the stigma down the road.
Very well said.
Yeah.
And you as well, Officer Willcox.
Well, how do I follow up after that? Exactly what he said. If you are in a position, if you live in the great city of Fort Worth, call, text, write, anything you need to do to get in contact with us, we'll be there for you. We're one phone call away, basically. I guess that's how the Ghostbusters used to say, right?
Right.
We believe you. We do. So, it's all right to check yourself sometimes, self-reflect. And if you're feeling really, really in a deep, dark place and you're having intrusive thoughts, give us a call. We'll come talk with you. We'll get you in resources. MHMR Tarrant County does a great job, and we're all here for you. So, and you're not alone. So give us a shout, all right? We'll help you.
Love it.
I want to thank you both for coming on the show and what you do for our communities. Truly. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Officer Willcox.
Yay,
Thank you.
good job.
Hugs,
Good
hugs,
job.
hugs.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all for today. But please follow us again with Best of the West. We'll see you guys next time. This show is brought to you by Real News Communications Network, your digital destination for video podcasts, produced by media and podcast experts. Podcasting at the speed of news, powered by Real News PR. Visit realnewscn.com for our podcast show library and launchashow.com to do just that, launch a show.